Alex from Source Distribution, looking at the Arturia DrumBrute. We'll get into some sound in a second, but is it based on anything? What does it sound like?
Well, it is inspired by lots of things, I think. So I think the idea that Arturia had was to make something that would appeal to a whole load of different musicians. So something that would work for techno, but that would work for electro, but that would work for hip hop as well. And it is inspired by all classic drum machines. I mean, there's certain sounds in there that you're going to recognize immediately, but I think the important thing with the DrumBrute is that you can push and pull the voices around, so you can take them to different places. So when I've been messing with this, I've definitely been getting some old school 808, 909 vibes, but then also quite classic softer drum machines as well. You can do stuff like that. And then obviously you can compress and smash and extend the palette by outboard processing too. So it's supposed to sound like quite a lot of things, but it definitely also sounds like the DrumBrute. It's got its own vibe.
Straight away isn't just an 808 in a box or a 909. That's apparent from the first sort of loop we got going.
Yeah.
Well, let's check it out. Let's play a loop. Nice.
Yeah.
Let's, this first thing, can we quickly flick through and play each of the sounds, and if any are particularly sort of focused on anything in particular?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two kicks in here. So the first kick is going to sound really, really familiar.
It seems a bit more resonant and thumpy than your cleaner 808.
So this is more a 909 style, I would say, with a kind of sweep control. So you've got a pew, and you can take that out. Impact, which adds a click, and tunable. And then you've got another kick, which
classic
I think we definitely recognise. Yeah, exactly. So, and that can go down and down even more. So very, very nice. And then you've got a snare, which we can sort of tonally push around, make it very short and sort of cracky, or kind of long, more bushy. Do Celine Dion snare. Get some gated reverb on in a sec. And then claps with the tone control.
Is the clap based on anything?
Yeah, so I mean, all of the voices are arrived at in different ways. Like I know that they prototyped a lot of things actually using Eurorack, so using Eurorack synthesis to kind of try out ideas, synthesis methods, because it is totally analog as well. We should obviously point that out. It's absolutely analog behind the scenes. All of the drum voices are derived, even the hats, from analog circuits. And so they've kind of prototyped it and perfected it and are inspired by loads of things. The clap, I know, was inspired by the Delptronics Thunderclap, Mickey Delp.
Yep,
Mickey Delp's credited in the manual as well, so it's that's where that's from. And I mean, you can kind of hear the sort of provenance of the snare is just sort of, it's meant to sound like classic snares that we know and love. Like it can sound like the 808 snare, but it can sound softer, and you can push these all around. Claves, rim.
And is that select one for this bang, or can you have both at the same time?
You can have them all available at the same time. So all of the voices can all be played at once, but you just have to choose which one you audition and which one, when you're writing it into the sequencer. Yeah. Hats. And the closed hat can go really long. In fact, actually, both of the hats, as far as I'm aware, are basically identical. The difference is choking. So you choke the closed hi-hat, so it takes precedence. But you can sort of push them around. And they sound quite sort of 909-y. I think it's more that world. Yeah, they're not like the 909 hats at all, I should say, but it's more that world. It's more a kind of an interesting tune sound, quite dirty sort of.
Yeah, it's got a metallic ring to it.
Unmistakable.
Not just noise through a filter.
But because they both go really short, and you can adjust the pitch. I mean, one thing that I've been doing is just leaving them both really short. And you get like pitches. 2 different rhythmical elements and stuff. And it's really important to point out, like a lot of these sounds, although they say kick, like you can get quite tom-like sounds out of the kick and stuff.
Yeah, the first kick certainly went disco tom.
You can totally do that, yeah. Congas, which are tunable. And then you've got toms.
So are the 2 toms identical like the hats are?
I think they probably are the same circuit. I actually don't know that, but they're tuned differently so that they have different ranges. I wonder if you can get them to overlap. Oh, you kind of can. Oh no. Anyway, but yeah, the idea is that you've got the 2 to sort of play against one another, and it's really nice. Especially again, because as we said, you can play the congas at the same time as the toms. You just have to pick them when you write them.
Yeah.
And then cymbal, which I think does sound quite 808-y. That's that sort of world. And the cymbal can go really short. So you can do, quite sort of fast, make it kind of a close hi-hat. And then you've got a maraca and a tambourine.
Yeah, nice little shake on the tambourine.
I know, it's like a little sort of...
reverse cymbal?
Oh, yeah. Yes, good shout.
Almost has a different, unless my ears are mistaken, it's a different tone.
It is a different circuit, yeah. Because the tone control doesn't affect the reverse.
Right.
Different circuit, so, yeah. And then finally, very disco.
There we go.
Disco song. There you go, mate. But you can get quite a kind of sound. I always thought that sounded a little bit like in the Legend of Zelda on the NES, when Link gets stabbed.
Yeah,
makes that sound. Exactly. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yes. I think the other thing is just that importance of you can push these voices tons by processing.
Well, the cymbal was the first thing that really went, that's the 808 cymbal. None of the rest immediately went, that's definitely.
Right.
They all seem to push much further. Mentioning pushing the sounds, are there any onboard effects?
No. Wait, actually that's kind of a lie. There is an output filter, so if I... So we have a total output filter which affects anything coming out of the mix output, and we've got resonance. So you can use it to sort of roll off some high end, or you can do kind of quite extreme stuff, and then you've got a high pass.
With this just affecting things on the main out, and we'll shoot to a picture at the back showing the outputs.
Yeah.
If we take the kick out, completely unaffected, then we can sweep all the lows out of everything else.
With the direct outs on the back, they are totally ignored by the filter, basically. So the direct outs really are direct, and then
tapped before the filter.
And obviously, when you plug something into the direct out, it's taken out of the mix out. So yeah, you've always anything coming out of the mix output you can affect with that, and anything direct you can process to crazily.
I mean, the filter's got an immediate character that may be recognisable to some, but is it the Steiner Parker from the MicroBrutes?
It is, yeah. So it is, and you don't sort of get the kind of wild self-oscillation because of the way that it's set up, but you get a nice resonant squelch, so you can, the end of a bar, you can like drop it down, and then you've got bypass to quickly like
chuck it out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So in terms of sequencing, setting up beats, is that similar to, say, the BeatStep Pro with step entry or recording?
So I'll show you. Exactly. We have a metronome. You can run the metronome at different rates as well, but obviously like 4 beats in the sort of pattern makes sense. We can have up to 64 steps. We'll leave it at 16, and then you can just audition a sound and then just hit record. And then you hear it. And if I start looking at the notes, you can see actually some of them are different colours, and it's because we do have accent built in.
And that's recorded through the pads?
Yeah. So there's, depending how hard it hit the pad, it depends whether it's hitting hard accent or not. They call it accent and just step. So accent doesn't mean what it means on other drum machines, where it's like any accent on that step will affect everything. It's just, you can do it per voice, per element, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is you can have different step lengths. So if I put polyrhythm mode on, polyrhythm means that I can have, for example, like a hi-hat, a tom. So if I come to last step, I can make just the high tom, or high conga, 10 beats long. Exactly. Yeah. And so every single element can have different step lengths, which is very, very cool. So you can do like these little funny patterns that never quite. And then also you can hold down the little roller.
And select the pad you want to roll. And are those recorded in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just bake that in. And then if we want to erase that, we can hit erase and then erase the part.
So we see something like a lot of in the sort of modular world, random, which is just there.
Exactly.
On the beat step, I thought it was really well implemented with a probability that random will happen and a range of possible random values. It's on a single knob here.
It is. You actually,
doing?
There is a piece of software, the MIDI control center, where you can change various parameters, like the behind the scenes stuff, exactly like the beat step. And with the randomness knob, you can change that, I believe, the sort of probability aspect. There is a setting in there as well. But you're right, it is kind of a single element. So you can come in here, maybe I will put in some maracas. So if I select maracas and then do current track, you start to hear it sews them in.
Yeah, well that's what I really liked with the beat step. Just a set rhythm with 10% random.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just on like one element, just to have a little bit of something. Plus also with the polyrhythm thing, then you just get into this thing of having patterns that you don't really repeat that easily. The other thing, by the way, is just that you can, like if you're picking a note, you have swing. Obviously you saw we have swing. So if I put swing on, that's on everything. And you can do it per track. But that swing knob, if I hold this,
you can swing certain steps.
You can slip steps. Because you can record unquantized as well.
Yeah, so custom grooves are super simple.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so we were talking about the effects and pushing this a little bit further. Most sounds we tend not to hear dry anyway. Synths,
especially drum machines
anything
as well.
In the studio, it's not.
And any sample set has always been processed. So I think people have a slightly weird impression of what classic drum machines are meant to sound like.
Yeah, when someone thinks of the 808, it's usually compressed and EQ'd.
Yeah.
So let's
Should we compress and EQ it?
Yeah, let's do some.
Well, let's take this because this is just one thing that I've, I'd love to hear it with drive, basically, because this is, I've had very little time to try it. So let's plug this in. It just sounds nuts.
Drive,
yeah, seriously. Like, this is a really good example of like how much fun you can have.
especially on a sparser beat.
You just have to manage your levels. Should we start let's go just to a blank, erase pattern 16.
Just speaking of patterns quickly, we've erased one. How many patterns can we store?
So you can have 4 banks of 16.
And can we chain patterns?
Yes. So you have song mode, and you can chain up to 16 patterns per song.
Yeah.
And you can move through multiple songs then. So. I think distortion's like the best effect on a drum machine, really, and compression, I suppose, like compression EQ. Ooh.
So I like the idea of the bypass, where we can take it just that bit too far and then.
Distorted congas.
Just a bit of random. See, that random for me is how I use the beat step a lot. It's like my fade in fill device.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then back out. Yeah.
Let's try a little fade in fill and
Go on. This is a good example. I mean, because we've distorted it so much, you really hear the sort of the note, the pitch of all of the elements, and then when you get the congas and stuff in play, it just it becomes very musical. Like you really get these little solos going on, and then we can extend the pattern, by the way.
let's go for another fill.
Go on.
It's really tempting. Lends itself. I mean, people will see we've got 4 hands on this thing.
To messing around. That's the thing. I was saying the other day how it, when you're making patterns like this and making patterns and saving to memory, I always wish I was recording everything, because sometimes just the making of the pattern is super musical that you end up performing. You get very sort of like LFO. Just takes distortion super well, and it gets really musical with all of the toms.
Just clean it up. Yeah, nice. So, what's recommended retail?
It is £399.
Wow.
Which is sort of bonkers, I think. It's a crazy price for what it is. I mean, there are other affordable drum machines, but I think you can sort of see, given the amount of control and size, it's pretty untouchable in this sort of...
Surprisingly low.
Yes.
Not to say things like the microbrute are affordable, but for what it is.
Totally, yeah. It's really good value and really fun. So it's I've just been enjoying messing around, especially having it locked to like the microbrute, and then you've got, which you can do, you've got clock, so you can do little jams, and it's like almost enough. I think if you've got like a microbrute, one of these, and a couple of pedals and a desk, when
a little mixer to fire sends.
When you've got some sends, especially that you can do real little performances with, you know, chuck the hats into some delays and then, you know, build up, explode it, and it's just it is really nice to have the drums. The drums sort of complete it. You know, the synth alone is not enough, obviously, but
no,
you, it's good.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Cool.